Have you ever been invisible? Not literally, but invisible in the way that matters, where people look right through you, where your pain doesn't register, where your existence is just background noise? That was Amara's life. For 3 years, she'd worked in the most dangerous household in Seoul. The mansion belonged to Min Jun, the feared Korean Mafia boss whose name alone made powerful men tremble. His empire stretched across Asia. Illegal gambling, underground trade, protection rackets. He was untouchable, ruthless, cold. And every morning at 6:30 a.m., Amara served him coffee. 2 cubes of sugar. Light cream. Cup placed slightly to the right. She never missed a day. Never complained. Never asked for anything. The other staff treated her terribly. Ian, the head maid, made sure everyone knew Amara didn't belong. Why did they even hire her? She'd whisper loud enough for Amara to hear. She doesn't understand our ways. The bodyguards ignored her. The cook barked orders at her. The other maids excluded her from every conversation. But Amara endured it all because she had no choice. Her family depended on the money she sent home every month. Her younger siblings needed school fees. Her mother needed medicine. Quitting meant abandoning them. What no one knew was that Amara was dying. Stage 4 kidney failure. 6 months ago, she'd finally gone to a clinic after collapsing in her room. The doctor's words still echoed in her mind. Without a transplant, you have maybe a year. Maybe less. She had no insurance. No savings. No family in Korea who could help. So she made a choice. She would work until her body gave out completely. At least then, her family would have something. She hid the medication in the kitchen pantry, taking pills when no one was watching. She disguised her exhaustion as hard work. She smiled through the pain that shot through her back with every step. But hiding was becoming impossible. This particular evening, after a lavish dinner party for Min Jun's business associates, Amara was assigned to clean the grand staircase. Alone. At midnight. Her hands trembled as she scrubbed. Her vision blurred. The marble steps seemed to multiply before her eyes. She paused, gripping the railing, willing her body to cooperate. Just finish this. Just get through tonight. Ian passed by with another maid, both laughing about something. When she saw Amara struggling, her smile turned cruel. If you're too weak to work, maybe you should quit. We don't need people who can't keep up. Amara forced a smile. I'm fine. Just tired. Tired? We all work the same hours. Maybe you're just not cut out for this. The other maid giggled. Amara said nothing. She turned back to her cleaning, biting down the response she wanted to scream. But as she reached for her cleaning supplies, the world tilted. Her knees buckled. The bucket clattered down the stairs, water splashing everywhere. And then she fell. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was Ian's panicked voice. Someone help. She's not breathing. When Amara opened her eyes, fluorescent hospital lights burned her vision. Machines beeped steadily beside her. And 4 dripped clear fluid into her arm. A nurse noticed her stirring. You're awake. Don't try to move. Where? Amara's voice was barely a whisper. Seoul National Hospital. You collapsed. You're very sick. Amara's heart sank. Hospital meant bills. Bills meant debt. Debt meant her family would suffer. I need to leave. I need to work. You're not going anywhere. The nurse's voice was firm but kind. The doctor will explain everything. Hours later, Dr. Park entered with a clipboard and a grim expression. He didn't sugarcoat it. Miss Amara, your kidneys are failing. Stage 4 chronic kidney disease. You need dialysis immediately and a transplant as soon as possible. Without treatment, you have weeks. Maybe a month. The words hit like bullets. Weeks. Not years. Not months. Weeks. How much? Amara whispered. For the transplant and treatment? Around 50 million won. Maybe more. 50 million won. Nearly $40,000. She would never earn that much in her lifetime. Dr. Park continued, "Do you have family who can donate? A matched donor would significantly improve your chances." Amara shook her head slowly. "My family, they're not here. And I can't ask them for money. They have nothing." "What about your employer? Can they help?" A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "I'm just a maid. I'm nobody to them." What Amara didn't know was that at that exact moment, back at the mansion, Min Jun sat in his office staring at an empty desk. For the first time in 3 years, there was no coffee at 6:30 a.m. And for the first time in his carefully controlled life, the feared Mafia boss felt something he couldn't name. Something that felt dangerously close to concern. Min Jun was not a man who showed emotion. In his world, emotion was weakness. Weakness got you killed. He built his empire on fear, control, and an almost supernatural ability to read people. He noticed everything. The slight hesitation before someone lied, the nervous tick that revealed betrayal, the micro-expressions that exposed hidden agendas. This skill had kept him alive when others died. It made him powerful when others fell. And for 3 years, he'd been noticing Amara. Not in the way his men assumed. Not in the way that made her uncomfortable. He noticed her in the way you notice a constant, something so reliable it becomes part of your reality. She was always there. Always punctual. Always precise. But 3 months ago, something changed. Her steps became slower. Almost imperceptible, but he caught it. 2 months ago, she started gripping furniture for balance. She thought no one saw, but he did. 1 month ago, her hands began trembling when she placed his coffee down. She'd steady them quickly, but not quickly enough. Last week, he'd seen a medical bottle slip from her apron pocket. She'd retrieved it so fast, looking around in panic to see if anyone noticed. He'd pretended to read his documents. But he'd seen the label. Seen enough to know something was seriously wrong. He'd said nothing. Done nothing. Because that wasn't his role. She was staff. He was the boss. That was the boundary. But this morning, when a different maid brought his coffee, Ian, smiling too brightly, trying too hard, something in him snapped. The cup was wrong. 2 cubes of sugar, but too much cream. Placed in the center, not to the right. "Where is she?" His voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. Ian's smile faltered. "Sir, the other maid. Where is she?" "Oh, Amara? She collapsed last night. She's in the hospital." Min Jun's expression didn't change, but his hand tightened around the cup. "Which hospital?" "Seoul National, I think." "But sir, she's just a maid. We can hire someone else." "Get out." Ian froze. "Get out." She scrambled from the room. Min Jun sat in silence for exactly 3 minutes. Then he picked up his phone and made a call. "I need everything. Medical records, employment history, family background. I want it in an hour." His right-hand man, Tae-sung, knew better than to ask questions. "Yes, boss." 50 minutes later, Tae-sung entered the office with a folder. Her name is Amara Osei, 28 years old. Been working here for 3 years. Sends most of her salary to her family. Mother and 3 siblings. No savings. No insurance. Min Jun opened the folder. Medical records. Stage 4 kidney failure. She was diagnosed 6 months ago but kept working. Doctors say she needs a transplant urgently. Without it, Tae-sung paused. She has weeks, maybe less. Min Jun's jaw tightened. Does she have a donor? No family here. No matches in the system. And even if she did, she can't afford the surgery. It's 50 million won minimum. Min Jun closed the folder slowly. For 3 years, this woman had served him without complaint. Without asking for anything. Without expecting recognition. She'd worked while dying. She'd smiled through pain that would have broken most people. She'd maintained perfection even as her body betrayed her. And no one, including him, had truly seen her. Memories flickered through his mind, unbidden. The time she'd stayed late during a crisis, bringing him coffee at 2 a.m. without being asked. The time she'd defended another maid from Ian's cruelty, taking the punishment herself. The time his hands had been shaking after a particularly violent meeting, and she'd simply placed the coffee beside him without a word, without judgment. She'd seen him. The real him. The one beneath the monster everyone feared. And she'd never flinched. "Boss," Tae-sung's voice cut through his thoughts. "What do you want me to do?" Min Jun stood, decision made. "Get the car. We're going to the hospital." "Sir," respectfully, "is that wise? You have meetings. Cancel them." "But..." Min Jun's eyes, cold and final, met Tae-sung's. "She served me for 3 years without fail. I will not let her die alone in a hospital bed while I sit in meetings." Tae-sung bowed. "Yes, boss." As Min Jun put on his coat, Tae-sung asked the question that was burning in everyone's mind. "Boss, why do you care so much about a maid?" Min Jun paused at the door. "Because she was never just a maid." 30 minutes later, Kang Min Jun walked into Seoul National Hospital. Doctors froze. Nurses whispered. Security straightened. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone knew what he was capable of. He stopped at the main desk. "Amara, say. What room?" The nurse's hand shook as she checked the computer. "Room 304, sir." He didn't thank her. He simply walked toward the elevator, his men following like shadows. But he didn't go to room 304. Instead, he went directly to Dr. Park's office. The doctor looked up, startled, as the most dangerous man in Seoul entered without knocking. "Mr. Kang, the black woman. Amara. I need her complete medical file." "Sir, I can't just." Min Jun placed a briefcase on the desk and opened it. Cash. More cash than most people saw in a lifetime. Her medical file. Now. Dr. Park swallowed hard and pulled up the records. As Min Jun read, his expression remained unreadable. Stage 4 kidney failure. Critical condition. Transplant needed urgently. No donor. No hope. Dr. Park cleared his throat nervously. "Mr. Kang, even with money, finding a donor is..." "Test me." Silence. "I'm sorry, what?" Min Jun looked up, eyes cold and certain. "Test me for compatibility. I want to know if I'm a match." Dr. Park's mouth opened and closed. "Sir, you want to donate a kidney? To your maid. Test me. Today." "But Mr. Kang, the risks are irrelevant." "Test me." The news spread through the hospital like wildfire. Kang Min Jun, the feared Korean Mafia boss, was being tested as a kidney donor. For a maid. Doctors whispered in corners. Nurses couldn't believe it. Even his own men thought he'd lost his mind. Tae-sung cornered him outside the testing room. "Boss, please reconsider. This is insane. I've made my decision." "You're weakening yourself. What if enemies find out? What if there are complications? You're putting your entire organization at risk for a woman who never asked me for anything." Min Jun's voice was steel. "A woman who served me loyally for 3 years while dying. A woman who had more honor than most of the men I do business with. But she's just... If you say just a maid one more time, you'll need a hospital bed of your own." Tae-sung fell silent. Min Jun continued, quieter now. "Every morning for 3 years, she brought me coffee. Perfect. Exact. Never late. Never asked for recognition. Never expected gratitude. She saw me at my worst. Bloodstained suits, shaking hands, rage I couldn't control. And she never judged. She never feared me. She just stayed." He paused. "How many people in my life can I say that about?" Tae-sung had no answer. The test results came back the next day. Dr. Park looked shocked as he delivered the news. "Mr. Kang, you're a perfect match. It's almost statistically impossible, but your blood type, tissue markers, everything. It's compatible. Min Jun showed no reaction. When can we schedule the surgery? Sir, I need to explain the risks. Donating a kidney is major surgery. Recovery takes months. There's pain, potential complications, infection risks. I don't care about risks. When can we do it? Dr. Park sighed. 2 days. We need to prep both of you. Fine. But there's a condition. Sir, she doesn't know it's me. Not until after the surgery. Mr. Khan, she has the right to know who her donor is. Min Jun's eyes went cold. If she knows beforehand, she'll refuse. She'll say she doesn't deserve it. She'll try to protect me. I won't give her that option. Dr. Park hesitated, then nodded slowly. I'll tell her we found an anonymous donor. Good. As Min Jun turned to leave, Dr. Park asked, why are you really doing this? Min Jun paused at the door. Because 3 years ago, I was in this hospital after an assassination attempt. I was recovering, weak, vulnerable. And every morning at 6:30, she brought coffee to my room. She never asked what happened. Never looked afraid. She just did her job. One morning, I asked her why she wasn't scared of me. What did she say? She said, everyone deserves kindness, even people the world has decided are monsters. Then she left. Min Jun's voice softened almost imperceptibly. No one had called me deserving of kindness in 20 years. 2 days later, Amara was prepped for surgery. She'd been told an anonymous donor had been found. Someone who was a perfect match. Someone who wanted to remain unknown. She couldn't believe it. Couldn't understand why anyone would do this for her. The nurse held her hand as they wheeled her toward the operating room. You're very lucky. Your donor must care about you very much. But I don't know who it is, Amara whispered, tears streaming down her face. How can I ever thank them? Maybe that's the point. Maybe they don't want thanks. Maybe they just want you to live. In the operating room next door, Min Jun lay on the surgical table. Dr. Park stood over him. Last chance to change your mind, Mr. Kong. I don't change my mind. Your men are outside. They're not happy about this. They'll survive. Will you? Dr. Park asked seriously. In your line of work, showing this kind of weakness. It's not weakness, Min Jun interrupted. It's payment of a debt. What debt? She saved my life once. She just didn't know it. Before Dr. Park could ask more, Min Jun closed his eyes. Let's begin. The surgery took 8 hours. Both procedures were successful. When Min Jun woke up in recovery, pain radiated through his side. His men surrounded his bed, expressions ranging from concern to disbelief. Tae-sung leaned in. Boss, it's done. You're stable. She's stable. The kidney is functioning perfectly. Min Jun nodded slowly, exhausted. Is she awake? Not yet. But the doctors say she'll be fine. Good. Boss, the other staff are asking questions. What do we tell them? Tell them nothing. This stays quiet. And when she finds out it was you, for the first time in days, something that might have been a smile crossed Min Jun's face. Then I'll deal with it. 3 rooms away, Amara woke to a world that felt different. Lighter. Hopeful. She was alive. Someone had given her a second chance. A nurse checked her vitals, smiling warmly. Welcome back. Your surgery was perfect. Your new kidney is working beautifully. When can I meet my donor? Amara asked immediately. I need to thank them. I need to. They want to remain anonymous. But I have to know. Please. Who would do this for someone like me? The nurse's smile turned mysterious. Someone who's been watching over you longer than you realize. Amara didn't understand. But soon, she would. Recovery was slow, painful, but alive. Amara spent 2 weeks in the hospital, each day stronger than the last. Each day more grateful. Each day more desperate to know who had saved her life. But no one would tell her. The nurses smiled and changed the subject. Dr. Park said only that her donor wished to remain anonymous. Even the hospital staff seemed to be guarding a secret. It drove her crazy. Someone had literally given her a piece of themselves, and she couldn't even say thank you. What she didn't know was that her donor was 3 rooms down the hall, recovering from the same surgery. Min Jun had insisted on staying in the hospital under a false name. His men had secured the entire floor. No one got in or out without clearance. He told himself it was just to ensure her recovery went smoothly, that he needed to make sure his investment paid off. But Tae-sung knew better. "You're watching her room on the security cameras," Tae-sung said one evening, finding his boss staring at the monitor. "I'm ensuring there are no complications. You're checking on her every hour. Security protocol." "Boss." Tae-sung's voice was gentle. "You care about her." Min Jun's silence was answer enough. "What happens when she finds out?" Tae-sung asked. "Because she will find out. She's already asking questions. The staff is getting nervous. Then let her find out. And then what? She goes back to being your maid? You go back to pretending she doesn't exist." Min Jun's jaw tightened. "I don't know." It was the first time Tae-sung had ever heard his boss admit uncertainty. The truth came out on a rainy afternoon, 3 weeks after the surgery. Amara was finally being discharged. The hospital had arranged for her to return to the mansion, though she wasn't sure she was ready to face that life again. As she packed her few belongings, Dr. Park entered. "Amara, there's something you should know." "Did something happen?" "Is the kidney?" "The kidney is fine. Perfect, actually. But, your donor is here. In this hospital. He's been here the entire time." Amara's heart stopped. "Here? Can I meet him?" Dr. Park hesitated. "He didn't want you to know. But I think you deserve the truth." "Who is it?" "Room 307. Down the hall." Amara didn't wait. She grabbed her 4-pole and practically ran. "Room 307. She pushed open the door. And froze. Min Jun sat on the edge of the hospital bed, shirt off, bandages wrapped around his torso where the surgery had taken place. Their eyes met. For a long moment, neither spoke. "It was you." Her voice broke. "This whole time, it was you." He said nothing. "Why?" Tears streamed down her face. "Why would you risk your life for me? I'm nobody. I'm just." "Don't." His voice was sharp. "Don't say you're just a maid. You were never just anything. But you never even looked at me. For 3 years, you barely acknowledged I existed. I noticed everything." His voice softened. "Every morning, every coffee, every time you smiled through pain, every time you defended others, every time you showed more honor than anyone in my organization." He stood slowly, wincing from the surgical pain. 3 years ago, I was in this hospital after someone tried to kill me. I was weak, vulnerable, paranoid, and you brought me coffee every morning without fear, without judgment. Do you remember what you said to me when I asked why you weren't afraid? Amara's breath caught. She did remember. She'd thought he'd forgotten. I said everyone deserves kindness, she whispered. Even people the world calls monsters. No one had shown me kindness in 2 decades, Min Jun said quietly. You did. Without expecting anything. Without knowing if I'd even acknowledge it. He took a step closer. So when I found out you were dying, that you'd been working while dying, hiding it, suffering alone, I couldn't. He paused, struggling with words he'd never learned to say. I couldn't let you die when I had the power to save you. But the risk was worth it. Your organization means nothing if I can't protect the people who matter. Amara stared at him, this feared man, this killer, this monster the world had created, standing before her with surgical scars and unexpected tenderness. I don't understand you, she whispered. I don't understand myself anymore, he admitted. 6 months later. 6:30 a.m. But everything was different now. Amara stood in the mansion's kitchen, healthy and strong, preparing coffee. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. 2 cubes of sugar. Light cream. She walked to his office and knocked twice. "Come in." She entered, and this time, he looked up immediately. Their eyes met. He smiled, a small, rare thing. She placed the coffee down, not slightly to the right, directly in front of him. Then she sat down across from him with her own cup. "Good morning," she said. "Good morning," he replied. Tae-sung, watching from the doorway, shook his head in disbelief. The staff had learned quickly. Amara was no longer a maid. She was untouchable, protected, valued. At the last formal dinner, when a business associate had dismissed her rudely, Min Jun had calmly stated, "She no longer works for me. She stands beside me. Disrespect her again, and we have no business." The man had apologized immediately. Now, as they sat together in comfortable silence, Amara asked the question that had been on her mind. "Why did you make me stay here? After everything, I could have left. Gone home." Min Jun set down his coffee. "Because I'm selfish. I gave you a second chance at life, and I wanted to be part of that life." "That's not selfish," she said softly. "That's human." He looked at her, really looked at her, and something shifted in his eyes. "You make me want to be human again." Amara reached across the desk and took his hand. For 3 years, she'd been invisible. Now, she was seen. For 3 years, he'd been a monster. Now, he was learning to be a man. 2 broken people. 1 impossible sacrifice. And a love that no one, not even them, had seen coming. 1 year later, Amara stood in front of the mirror in a white dress. Not a wedding dress. Not yet. But a dress for a new beginning. She'd used the past year to finish her education, to bring her family to Korea, to build a life she'd only dreamed of. And through it all, Min Jun had stood beside her. Not as a boss. Not as a savior. As a partner. He'd stepped back from the most dangerous parts of his business. Started legitimizing his operations. Started building something that wouldn't require blood to maintain. Because she'd asked him one simple question. "If you could start over, what would you choose?" And he'd looked at her and answered honestly, "I'd choose to be worthy of you." Now, as she walked into the garden where he waited, she realized the truth. She'd spent 3 years being invisible, but she'd been seen all along, by the one person who mattered. The Mafia boss who learned that true power wasn't in fear. It was in sacrifice, in kindness, in love.